You should consider the genre you're writing about when deciding what to show and when to tell. You've probably heard the advice, show don't tell more times than you can count, but let's be honest, that phrase alone doesn't really take you far. While it's a cool principle, it's not a one-size-fits-all rule. Sometimes you've got to spell it out for your readers, that's the telling part, and other times you want to let them live it, that's the showing part. And the trick to knowing when to do which? Well, that's where your story's genre comes in. Your genre sets the stage. It creates expectations. As I've touched on before, genre is the big player in the storytelling game. If your story doesn't vibe with what the reader is expecting, even if it's beautifully written or an excellent portrayal of the topic, it might fall flat. On the other hand, if you nail the emotional ride your reader's looking for, they might overlook a few bumps along the way. So, here's what I want to help you with. I've put together a little breakdown to guide you when you're writing in certain genres. I've split things up into 5 genre clusters: imaginative fiction, crime fiction, action fiction, relationship fiction, and horror fiction. Consider this info when handling these genres, or heck, scenes that weave into these genres, since genre blending is a thing. For instance, tips from the relationship section might help out with the imaginative fiction if you have a romantic subplot. Just take it into consideration as we go along. Anyway, without further ado, let's start with imaginative fiction. With imaginative fiction, the goal is to draw the reader into a world that's as real to them as their own yard. So, first, get colorful with your imagery. You can push the envelope a bit more with description here. Just keep in mind that fantasy and sci-fi aren't just the settings, they're experiences. Paint the picture, but remember, a pretty picture alone won't do. You want your readers to believe in dragons, right? Then show them how dragons are a part of their daily life. Make it mundane. If your characters treat the fantastical as everyday, your readers will too. And don't worry about explaining every little thing right away. The best way to keep your audience hooked is to hold back some information, only revealing what's absolutely needed. While I do recommend letting readers figure out some stuff for themselves through how people interact with things, you will need to just explain quite a few. So that brings us to the topic of exposition. Think of exposition like a dance. Too much, and you'll trip over your own feet. Too little, and you'll leave your partner, that's the reader, hanging. You want things to seem effortless and just a natural part of the story experience. You want to make it invisible. So, how do you do that? Dramatize it. Turn exposition into action, into conflict. Let your characters use information like swords and shields. Trust me, it's more fun that way. Especially if a character works things out for themselves. This, of course, brings us to the crime cluster, as that contains mystery. While setting an atmosphere is still crucial in crime fiction, what we're aiming at here is a more interactive, cerebral experience. Readers love to put themselves in the shoes of a detective, piecing together clues, and trying to outsmart the author. And even for those who just want to be on the sidelines, they want to see how everything is pieced together. So, first, invite your reader into your character's head. Let them understand how they think, why they make certain decisions, and what drives them. Get all deep and personal. And don't be afraid to show them sweat and strain. Next, lay out the evidence. The juicy clues that will lead to that aha moment. Be clever with them. Throw in some red herrings, but play fair. Your reader wants to solve the mystery, not be led on a wild goose chase. And don't forget about the human connection, body language, facial expressions, the subtle cues that tell a story beyond words. They can be gold in crime fiction. Show your readers the tension in a tight jaw, the uncertainty in a flicker of the eye. Let them assume things from it and draw their own conclusions. Crime fiction itself includes thriller in it, which is pretty much mystery meets horror. Well, thriller is a lot. We can discuss that at another time. The fun thing is, mystery and horror are contrasts with one another. While mystery is all about showing the triumph of the human mind, horror is all about showing its failings. So, with that in mind, focus more on emotion. Horror is all about fear anticipation, suspense. Want to know how to nail these feelings? Think about visceral reactions over visuals. Let your reader feel the terror, not just see it. When it comes to the externals, sensory details are where the magic happens. If you want to make your reader's hair stand on end, master the 5 senses. The creak of a door, the chill in the air, the foul smell lurking in the shadows. Make them hear it, feel it, smell it. Heck, make them taste it if you can. Make the terror real. When it comes to the visuals, meanwhile, sometimes less is more. Tease and tantalize your readers with what could be lurking around the corner. Let their imaginations run wild, filling in the gaps with their own fears. A lot of this can factor into the relationship genre cluster as well. When it comes to writing relationships, we need those visceral reactions. Feel their heartbeat, their desire, their fears, their joys. Not naming emotions is especially important here. Also, get intimate with introspection and reactions, and let the readers lose themselves in the world of emotions. But be careful not to slide into melodrama. Here's a golden nugget for avoiding that. Don't let the emotion run wild without a solid reason. Melodrama creeps in when the feelings are too big without proper motivation. Humanity is wild, so we're capable of doing all sorts of absurd things, but the desire behind it has to be understood. Also, interpretation will play a big part in things here, so focus details on how a specific character views another or experiences whatever sensations. Also, keep in mind that these types tend to read faster than other genres since people want to see the interactions and relationships playing out above all else. Finally, the place you'll have to focus the most on your external writing skills is going to be action. In it, you want to grab your reader by the collar and drag them into a world where things are happening, and they're happening now. Speed is key, so you're probably going to end up with more complex sentences, a mix of paragraphs, and a lot of stuff related to action-reaction. If you want help with some of that, see my videos on prose. Also, don't forget to pause and let your readers catch their breath with a glimpse into your character's reactions and internal world. Oh, and if you're writing war fiction or techno thrillers or something sport related, get those details right and share them. Trust me, the enthusiasts will notice, and they are there for that. If you wish to appeal to those outside of the enthusiast side with whatever, be careful with overloading with that info, and try to use language that can make it more accessible to those who don't know the technical terms for everything. If you aren't teaching them in the story, that is. At any rate, consider all this when applying showing and telling. Don't forget the fundamentals to showing and telling though. They're the foundation for quite a bit I've spoken of here. If you aren't familiar with them, or just need a tune-up, I recommend giving my guide on Show Don't Tell a watch. It breaks down everything you need to know in under 10 minutes.